Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Kylie and Zori here.
Hey.
Okay, so today is going to be kind of like a split podcast. We have two topics. So, RFK stepping into office. We're just going to kind of touch on that just because kind of like the health movement or whatever, but we're going to start with that. So basically what I was telling Zori was
Sorry about the background noise. We're in a Barnes & Noble. Sometimes that's the only place you can do the pod because there's no place that you can sit that's quiet.
Yeah, Zori was saying there's no third-party place.
Yeah, where are we supposed to sit? Where we're not...
We need to invent a podcast.
And there's snow outside, so it's like we're not going to sit outside. Whatever.
True. We need to invent like a sip and pod place.
No, actually.
Where there's like individual little rooms and you like sign off on a little sheet for that
literally
time.
Called a library.
Yeah, but you have like soundproof rooms.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That would be so cute.
Okay, but yeah, you wanted to talk about...
Well, I just wanted to touch on just because... So I have this app called Yuka. Some of you might know. It's just a cute little fun app. You can just scan things and it just kind of teaches you about ingredients and things, and you can kind of learn what you're putting into your body and just learn how to read ingredients and understand how they may be affecting you. Or like it just tells like what bad stuff is in there, what good stuff is in there, yada yada. But I was explaining to her that there's like a new feature on there where you can like call out the brand. So there's certain brands that you can call out, and there's a certain amount of petitions that you can get signed, and then you send it in, and then they will email you if they change that ingredient in that thing. But then Zori was saying...
Well, I was saying... Well, wait, what did I say?
What you were saying was get the focus.
Oh, yeah, I was saying the focus is just kind of off, because I know that a lot of people are, like, excited about RFK, like, stepping into the position of, like, the health, like, sector of this country, but I was just very unimpressed by it, because I'm like, I get the intention, but I don't feel like we're focusing it in the right area, you know? Like, my examples were, like, people talking about how there's not going to be fluoride in the water anymore, but I'm like, how many of us are actually drinking tap water anyway? And if we are, aren't we filtering it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if you aren't filtering, you have the option to filter it. So we've never been, like, forced to drink fluorinated water. And that also is not, like, a major health issue in the U.S. You know what I mean? Like, fluorinated water is, like...
Yeah.
If you don't want to drink it, that's fine. That's, you know, if you feel like whatever. But it's not, like, people are dying left and right from fluoride in the water. So it's, like, there's people who literally don't have access to food. Like, there's people who don't have access to, like, food literacy and, like, how to read a label and stuff like that. So I'm, like, I was telling Kai, it kind of feels like if there was a house that had, like, a crack in the window, but, like, the foundation was crumbling, like, RFK is fixing the crack in the window, and it's, like, okay, but, like, the house is literally going to be in the ground. So, like, I don't really give a fuck about the window, actually. Like, it's good to fix the window needs to be fixed, but it's like, is it the number one thing that needs to be fixed? No. So I think a lot of things that are being fixed are things that we're like already in our control, which is why I don't really care about it. Like, a lot of people are excited about it, but I'm like, you never had to be eating that stuff in the first place if you didn't want to, so I'm just confused on why we're excited about something that we had control over. Like, it just confuses me, like, just a little bit. Like, that's like being like, I hate rose art crayons, and I love Crayola crayons, and now we have a president that's going to ban rose art, and it's like, okay, but you never had to buy it. You could have always been buying Crayola crayons. Like, it's not like those are the only crayons that we ever had, you know? So I'm like, it's just unimpressive to me to ban something that we already didn't have to be eating, you know? Like, we're banning additives in the fast food, and it's like, why are we...
eating the
fast food?
food.
Why are you eating the fast food? You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about everybody, but I'm talking, most of the people that are speaking on it are people that definitely do have, you know, I'm not saying people that are impoverished, like, coming out and being like, thank goodness these things are being banned. Like, I'm not talking about impoverished people. But that's part of the issue, is, like, I'm like, these people who don't have a choice but to eat these things, there's a reason why. Like, why are we not, like, I would be so impressed if he came out and said, I'm going to start community gardens and, like, in low-income areas or, like, low socioeconomic areas so people can have fresh vegetables and fresh fruit. And, like, you know, why are there liquor stores on every corner in, like, the hood, but, like, if you go to the suburbs, there's a Wegmans on every corner. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference. And there's a history behind it, if you look into it. Simple Google search, if you guys don't believe me. But there's a history behind it, and I would be way more impressed with somebody who's going to fix the root of the problem than just, like, cover up some sprinkles on top that we already have control of, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's just, like, how I feel about it. Like, is it bad? No. But is it revolutionary? Absolutely not. Like...
Also, people need to be educated, though.
Yeah.
Like, people not knowing about bad things, or, like, people not knowing the impact of what you're putting into your body is low-key a little crazy.
I'm gonna say, though, a lot of people don't want to do the work.
I know.
A lot of people don't want to do the work. And, again, I'm not talking about people who don't have time to do the work. People who are, like... whatever, like, just underprivileged in so many other ways that, like, their focus is survival and not, like, health food, and that's fine, because there's so many people in that situation where it's like, I just need to survive every day, so if I'm eating Burger King, like, the additives in it are the least of my problems, because I might be homeless in, like, a week, you know. Those are not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that do have a home and are not, like, struggling, like, all the time, and that can think about these things. Why are we not doing the research? Why are we not doing the work? Why are we not looking into these things ourselves? You know, I feel like a huge part of everything that you ever hear, you should go online and cross-check the information. You should go and make sure that the things that you're hearing are right, and on all ends, because, you know, if the government tells you that something is good for you or whatever, you should look to see if it's as big of a deal, because there's also, like, fear mongering, and a lot of people feel like profit off of the fear, like the food fear and the health fear that a lot of people have.
For sure.
For example, like GMOs, right? Like, what have you heard about GMOs?
Genetically modified. What's the genetically modified?
I don't know what the O is. Couldn't tell you, but it is genetically modified. Like, here, let me look.
Well, okay, so I've heard, farm-wise, aren't they, like, putting it on the fruit or the crops or the veggies or whatever to make it bigger than it's actually supposed to be? So, like, genetically modifying its, like, size.
Okay, so GMO, or genetically modified organism.
Right.
Yeah, so it would be,
does
like,
it mean, like, yeah, when they're, like, growing crops and they're, like, putting the substance on it to make the strawberry bigger or the blueberry bigger, right?
So that's what we think of it as, but that's, like, not what GMOs actually are. Like, most things that we eat are GMO, and it's not inherently bad. I feel like definitely there are ways it can be bad, and I think most of the time it comes out bad. Not to get on my soapbox, but I think most of the time it comes out bad in meat, because genetically you can genetically modify chickens, but I don't think it's, like, through chemicals. It's through, like, breeding bigger chickens, right? And then those chickens, if they're so big and can't carry their body weight and stuff, and they're having health issues, then obviously eating that meat isn't good. And that's, I don't know if that necessarily would count as a GMO, but I mean, that's an organism that is genetically modified, right? Genetically modifying things is so natural, and it's something that we've been doing for years in agriculture. Broccoli, for example, any broccoli that you ever eat, organic or not, because it's irrelevant, is GMO, because, or could count as GMO, because it's man-made. Broccoli doesn't exist, like, in nature. We made it.
Does it not?
No. Isn't that so crazy? We made it, but not through chemicals. We made it by cross-breeding two plants.
Do you know what two plants?
It's, I forget. Yeah, I know what it looks like, but it's this one, here, let me look it up so you can see. You guys won't be able to see, but it's
broccoli.
Actually so fun. But it's natural. It's basically, you think about it as, like, oh my god, that's such a weird thing to say, but, like, if you took two people and wanted to make, like, you know what I mean, somebody else. That's what it is. It's still natural. It's not like they didn't put a chemical on a plant to make broccoli. They just made two plants have a baby, and that baby is broccoli. And that would count as genetically modifying. Now, cotton candy grapes, GMO.
Oh, yeah.
That's GMO, but that's not because they're not injecting them with cotton candy flavor. They literally just kept breeding like the sweetest grapes until they got to a flavor that was so close to cotton candy. It took years. I remember reading about it in high school. Like we had like in my high school like biology class, we were reading about it, and then all of a sudden, like a couple years out of high school, they're out on the market. And I was like, what the fuck? I remember reading about these.
That's
and
funny.
Nothing was bad about it. It wasn't like chemicals. It wasn't like whatever. So GMO isn't inherently bad. And I think a lot of people just hear like that's why certain things like that food products say, they appeal to these like fear-mongering tactics of like, there's no GMO in this. And I'm like, okay, but that doesn't really mean anything. You know what I mean? It doesn't really mean much. Because like corn is all the corn that we ever eat, all the corn syrup, all the stuff that we eat is all GMO because it's not from the original plant. The original plant of corn like made like maybe 4 or 5 kernels or something. Like we made corn so that it would yield more, which is not inherently bad. It's not. We just like changed the plant. We genetically modified it through like making, through like breeding plants essentially, and like making them whatever. So it was, the 2 plants were wild cabbage and then Brassica oleracea. Okay, let me see if I can get an image here.
Never heard of those.
Okay. Wait. So yeah, it's through selection. If you guys have ever like really, if you guys remember like not wild selection, but natural selection and stuff like that, we basically did that with plants. So it's not natural, but it's not bad. You know what I mean? Just because it's not natural doesn't mean it's not bad. Like broccoli exists now, and that's fucking dope. And there's nothing wrong with...
Can you grow broccoli now?
Yes, now you can just grow broccoli from the broccoli plant, but initially it was not a thing at all. And the same goes for like certain like squash and stuff like that. I don't know if this was like, I forget. There was like this, I found a picture of it forever because I found out broccoli was man-made, and I was like, wow, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's just crazy because you just think about broccoli as being like so...
Just like a...
normal.
Yeah.
And then, you know... But that's why they're all these things are related, like cabbage, broccoli, like, and they're all just like different versions of babies from different, of the same plant.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like that's just one example of like how we hear sometimes things that sound so bad, and it's so scary of like, I don't want to eat a GMO. But then it's like, girl, you're eating a GMO if you eat a salad. Like,
true.
It's not inherently bad. I think there's definitely, that's why I'm like talking about like the chickens and stuff like that, because I think there's genetic modification that is harmful.
Yeah.
But that's why I encourage people to do their own research and do the work on it rather than just hear something as bad. Or hear something as good. Hear something as good or bad and then run with it, because you would really be surprised that a lot of the stuff that you think is bad is actually not harmful at all, and a lot of the stuff that you can think is good it might be harmful or not. So I would just say, like, don't look up one resource, look up a couple and make sure that they're not biased, because I mean, again, if you find an article that is like, for example, I think one thing that people always talk about is like raw milk, right? Like if you find an article that's like raw milk has all these benefits and it's from the Raw Milk Institute, like yeah, they're gonna say that they're the Raw Milk Institute, you know what I mean? So that's the whole thing. Like we learn in school, you have to find a non-biased resource. So like I wouldn't also look for the anti-raw milk. Like if you go on the anti-raw milk subreddit and everybody's like, yeah, raw milk sucks for you, like that's also not credible. You need to find somebody who's a neutral, non-biased party that's like, here are the facts, here's what we know, it might be harmful, it also might be fine to eat, whatever. But I feel like we really need to be doing our own research, and unfortunately we live in a country where people just want to be told what to do, and that's fine. But that's why I'm like, I think we just need to be careful that what we're saying, right? Like if we don't know, then we just need to not know, we need to not talk about it, you know, rather than spread information. And I think I just highly encourage people, I'm like, if you're so excited about this, then you should also be doing your own research about food, right? Like that's how I feel. And I only know some of this stuff because I went to school for health sciences and had to take nutrition classes, and like learned a lot of stuff about, like, food, and also was just interested in food in general. So that's the only reason I know, is because, like, I went to school and had to.
Yeah.
But so that's why I don't blame people for not knowing. But it's like, then don't be so afraid of something that you don't know. You know what I mean? Because, like, I wouldn't blame you for thinking that's what a GMO is. That's what we all think of when we think of GMOs.
Right.
That's what I thought a GMO was until I learned, like, oh, wait, that's actually not crazy. Like, cotton candy grapes are GMO.
Yeah.
And that's, like, actually such a gift to society, even though I never eat them. But, like, you know, if we can make grapes taste like cotton candy and people are eating grapes instead of cotton candy, that's awesome. Right. So, yeah, that's not bad. A GMO is not bad. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like,
so, but is it bad? Are additive hormones considered GMO? Is that what it's listed
See, that's
under?
what I'm talking about, but I won't speak on, well, I'll speak on it, but I don't speak on those things because I don't eat meat. And that's part of the reason I don't eat meat.
Yeah.
Other than, I mean, the number one reason I don't eat meat is for ethical considerations. But secondly, if you're looking at health and you're looking at if you want to be healthy, can you eat healthy eating meat? Objectively, yes. I'm never going to be like, if you eat meat, you are not healthy at all. You can definitely eat chicken and fish and be healthy. Like, people have been doing it for years. That's not my point. My point is the way we're doing it now is it's like factory farms and like it's really it's overly complicated. We talk about processed food. Meat is one of the most processed foods like we could ever eat, right? Yeah. Also, processed food in general is not bad. Like, we talk about processed food. If you're eating canned beans, like, you're eating beans, you know? Canned beans and a bag of chips are both processed, but one is a whole food and one is like processed in the bag, you know what I mean? Like, there's a difference too. Like, we hear processed foods are, obviously it's better to buy a bag of dry beans and like cook those, but we think of processed as like just fake, but it's like if it's in a container that's separate from literally the thing it like came out of, it's been processed. Like, it's been processed through like a plant. So all meat that you're eating is processed unless you're literally living on a farm butchering your own. Yeah. Like, whatever. And most people aren't doing that. And most people don't want to do that, you know? But, yeah, so hormones and antibiotics. Yeah. So there's a whole thing with, like, antibiotics in, like, meat and, like, cows and stuff like that. And that is a thing. That's why your meat says, like, no added hormones or antibiotics. It's a huge thing that I could probably spend, like, 6 hours fucking talking about. And we had to read a book for it in my one, I took a plants, people, and food class by choice in college because I was like, I want to know. And we read this book called The Omnivore's Dilemma, and it was about this guy who was kind of, like, basically talking about his issues around eating meat and, like, whether he wanted to or not. And he went to a farm and, like, literally learned, like, the whole process of, like, this cow from beginning to end. That's nice. It was actually so insane because, first of all, cows aren't supposed to be eating grains, right? Yeah. So they eat these grains and they get all gassy and they have bloated, and they have bloating issues and whatever. Also, they're in these areas and these plants, like, all smushed together. Nobody's really taking care of them. They're really stepping in their own shit. Like, it's a lot. So they get infections. That's why they're being fed antibiotics in the first place. They don't just give... Because
then they're, like, sick.
They don't just give cows antibiotics for fun. They're giving them antibiotics because the conditions in which they're keeping these cows is making them sick. It's making the cows sick, so they need antibiotics. And that's why people... Okay, so then people are like, I'm going for, like, the grass-fed, whatever. You also need to do research on terms and how they can be used, because I don't know exactly, but I've heard multiple times, so I would look into it. But I've heard that you can have a cow raised on grains, and for the last, like, 3 months of its life, it can be grass-fed, and you can label it grass-fed.
Oh, it just switches over.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So... there's really not a huge... Also, the whole...
Where would you read that? On the label, or would it not even have to say that?
What do you mean?
Like, how could you deep dive research into knowing that?
I think you would have to find the company, right? And, like, nobody wants to do this stuff. Nobody wants to... You know, you have to find the company. And even then, like, if you find... this is where you get into ethics, which is, like, debatable, I guess, on some people's behalf. But, like, even if you find, like, a cow that was raised, like... grass-fed, usually that meat is more expensive, inaccessible to people who can't afford it. Ooh, you know, nobody wants to spend a fuck ton on like a small amount of beef. So there's that, and then you also just have like the ethics in general of like, you know, people, certain things will be marked like humane slaughter. I don't understand what that even means, really. It is an oxymoron. I really don't understand what that even means. Like,
nicely.
People are like, well, you could like, you know, shoot it in the head, or you could like tell it you love it and then shoot it in the head. I really don't really get what the difference is at all. But again, I'm gonna move from that topic.
They like caressed it
because I am biased. There's no such thing as humane slaughter, but whatever. If you are gonna eat meat though, there is definitely like better meat to eat, but again, it's harder to get. Factory farm or like farmed fish, literally all in like one pond, and they're like being fed antibiotics because they're all in one pond and not being taken. I encourage you guys to think about these things, right? They're animals. They're not like on a farm, like just being like caressed and told they love every day. And even if they are, there's like things behind it. They are treated as product because they are product. There's a connection here. I wrote a paper on this. There's a connection here because the government subsidizes corn and grains and meat. I'm sorry, guys. Should we pause?
No, it's fine.
Okay. The government subsidizes like all these like corn, wheat, milk products, like all of those things are subsidized by the government. That means that the government gives those farmers money to make it.
Okay.
So then that means that those products are then cheaper in the stores, right? This is why I think it's like, this is my like vegan conspiracy shit. Well, it's not really conspiracy. It's like right in front of our head. Like you can look up and know what the government subsidizes. But that being said, if those things are cheaper, that's why we have an influx of corn. That's why milk is in everything, because we have an influx of milk. We have these factory farms where there's like all of these products being made. That's why your soda has corn syrup. That's why the popcorn at the theater is covered in corn oil. That's why there's corn syrup and like everything, because we have so much corn. And it's cheap. Corn's cheap because the government gives money towards corn. Fruit's expensive because it's not subsidized by the government. It's not. Why is it not? That's why I was like, these little claims that he's like, we're going to make America healthy again. I'm like, you are actually touching nothing. Like, nothing of, like, the actual issue behind it or the big issue behind it. You want to, what? You want to take fucking Red 40 out of the hands of Americans? Like, go ahead. But that's not really the biggest problem that we have in this country when it comes to health. It is actually nowhere close to the biggest problem we have in this country when it comes to health. So that's why I'm unimpressed. And that's why I'm like, you know, okay.
My friend, she just bought half of a cow.
That's a crazy thing.
I know, that sounds so weird to say. I've never heard of it before, but she said she bought half a cow because somehow, like, you know the farm it's coming from, and I guess you can buy, like, a quarter, half. You can buy any, like, amount of it, but she bought, like, half. And I don't know, it's supposed to, like, be better.
It's hard. It's hard because a lot of it is more expensive. Like, farmers markets are great, and you can get, like, I don't know how often you can get meat there. But sometimes you can. I think you can go to local farmers, you know. Local farmers aren't getting paid by the government, though, as much. So, if they even are, so I don't think all of them are. So, it's like, that is going to be more expensive, and that's only if you can do that. And then again, if you go through the steps to learn how to buy half a fucking cow, because like, what does that even mean, you know? So it's like, that's what I mean by like the stuff we have the option,
or from a butcher,
but it doesn't always exist. Yeah, or
but I don't know
butcher.
how good that is either.
You don't know. That's the issue. Yeah. Like, you just don't know anything.
You just don't know unless you have a farm.
This is why a lot of people will be like, oh, it must be so hard to be vegan. I'm like, low-key, it's easier. Like, I'm just not thinking about that stuff. Like, yeah. I'm thinking about it when it comes to a lot of my other foods still. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm trying to be like automatically being vegan is like you fixed all those issues. Like, it's not, but like it takes a huge part out of it on top of I just love animals. So that's just a subjective thing that's like a lot of people just could give a fuck, so that's fine. But and that doesn't affect them. So but yeah, I think I don't know. I think we do need to be doing more of our own research. And I think a lot of people don't want to, and they want somebody to tell them that it's healthy. So I get why a lot of people feel better. But as somebody who knows the ins and outs behind the health and public health in America, he's literally just like tucking, like, I don't know, he's not doing much, like, or at least what he's saying, even if he does what he actually is saying he's going to do, which I don't know the logistics about actually getting that stuff done within a 4-year span, or if he's even beyond 4 years, because I don't know if he's, like, keeping that job forever. I don't know. That's why I'm like, whatever. But regardless, even if he gets it done, it is so, like, surface issue. Like, it's such a surface issue that I'm like, what I want you to do is talk about the real things.
Yeah.
But those things aren't going to get talked about because they do make the government money. They do. They do. They make the government money. They do. They do. Mm-hmm. They do. And sick people make the government money.
Yep.
They do. So that's why I'm not
Sadly.
impressed. Like, what? We're thinking this government person is going to go against the government here? Is this what we're thinking? Like, oh, I got this. You know, I'm going to call out. Like, he's saying a lot of fluff. You know what I mean? Where I'm not like, I'm not going to speak on it. Even if you were to do it, it still would just not be enough to the actual issue. Like, we need comprehensive, like, nutrition education to everyone. A lot of people don't care, and that's fine, but for the people that do, that's why I implore you to read a book. If you don't want to read a book, there are so many documentaries. There are so many documentaries you can watch. Mm-hmm. You don't have to read a book. Because I know a lot of people don't want to read, and that's valid. You have a right to know what's going on if you don't want to read a book. So if you don't want to read a book, watch a documentary. If you don't want to watch a documentary or read a book or look up an article, just stop talking about it. Just stop, because then you're talking about something you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I feel. I'm like, you are fine to have your opinion, and it can be wrong, and you can have your opinion and it can be wrong, but don't talk about it if you don't know what you're talking about. That's how I feel. And if I ever say anything that I don't know what I'm talking about, I always preface it with, I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, or I heard this, I don't have an exact resource to link you, but because the way that this has happened is it's been over years of learning and educating myself. I've been vegan for 8 years, so that's at least 8 years of just being interested in nutrition, and then I went to college and took different classes, so sometimes I don't remember where I got it from. So it might be out of nowhere, it might be something, maybe whatever, but most of the time, if I'm speaking it out, I know I got it from a credible source, but I just might not be able to source it. That's why I implore people to just do their own research, because you should just never believe exactly what somebody says anyway. And do smart research, like I said, the non-biased things, because if you look up one article about raw milk and it's from the Raw Milk Institute, it's just not, you're not learning anything. Like, of course they're gonna be like, it's amazing, it's whatever, but yeah, I'm so pro people making their own decisions about their health. Like, I'm not anti raw milk, by the way. Like, if people want to drink raw milk, that's fine, but I'm also saying, like, let's look into it, because I don't think if you're not drinking raw milk, you're unhealthy. Because I think a lot of those people think that. Like, if you're not drinking raw milk, like, we're not even supposed to be drinking cow milk in the first place. Yeah, that's what pisses me off about the whole raw milk thing. It's like, we need to be drinking raw milk.
Just stop drinking
If you want to drink all the bacteria that's in the raw milk, that's fine, but let's not force that on everybody else. And also, why are you even drinking cow milk in the first place?
It's so weird.
Like, that's why these things feel so arbitrary to me, because I'm like, we are plowing towards the problem and missing it every single time. We are being so loud about the side of the problem. Like, not even the actual thing. Because are they ever actually going to address the actual thing? Like, no.
You can hope.
Probably not. I have hope. I do.
Yeah. Well,
it's just really small right now, to be honest, if I'm being honest. Yeah. But that's why I implore people to educate themselves. Because if I'm sitting here, if we're going to sit here, if we were talking on this podcast and we were just going off everything he said, we would be like, oh my god, yes, this is iconic, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is so good, like, change is coming. You know what I mean? And it's like, it might be, but I don't think it's that big of a change, you know? Is it good? Yeah, but, like, is it amazing? Like, I don't know. But yeah, what do you think about all of it?
Oh, thank God. Well, no, I agree with everything you're saying, but I definitely hope that some sort of impact can be made.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if he doesn't, like how you're saying, maybe he's not fixing, like, the root of the problem right now, but maybe whatever he tries to fix, if he does fix anything, can snowball people
hopefully
into, like,
what I'm hoping it
wanting
does
to change the root.
is starting
the movement.
It's starting
maybe.
people to want to understand what that even means.
Yeah. That could be true. That this could be a wake-up call.
To even understand,
like,
even if it's, like, talking loudly about the wrong things can make people even just look into it and find the right things to be passionate about. But again,
I think maybe what he's trying to fix, like, if it's additives and stuff, that is a very minor thing, but it's also the thing I think that makes people aware.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I maybe started off with, like, awareness of, like, additives and, like, oh, maybe I do need to, like, start figuring out what's going in my body.
Yeah.
And then I think that awareness of the additives kind of opens up a whole, like, you dig deeper into, like...
Yeah, I just hope people do, because a lot of it, again, we just kind of want to trust the information that we're hearing, but unfortunately, we can't be doing that in this world, because if we're doing that, like, I don't know, it's just, I'm not saying believe everything you hear is a lie, because it's not, like, it's, a lot of the people who are spewing out wrong things are also saying right things, what is that thing, a broken clock is right twice a day. You know what I mean?
What does that mean?
It's the thing of, like, if a clock's broken and it's frozen, it's right twice a day, because that time it's going to be that time at least twice in a day. So like a broken system or a person that's focusing on the wrong things, I'm sure they're saying, like, that's what I was saying, anything he's saying isn't necessarily wrong, but it's just, like, it's crazy that I'm just seeing so many people so excited, and I'm like, I'm not really seeing what he's bringing to the table that we need to be doing backflips over, like it's not hitting the red for, like, we never had to be eating that stuff. You guys, did you guys actually know you have free will? You never
I don't
actually
think they do.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like,
oh, darn.
Like, it's just so crazy to me. I'm like, what? But then they're calling us brainwashed, and I'm like, I just don't understand what's happening here, where we're like...
I just encourage people to think.
That's what I'm saying.
Honestly,
critically think. That's what I'm saying. Let's not just believe everything that we're hearing. Let's critically think, because I don't. Even the people spewing information that I don't like, I don't just automatically take everything they say to be wrong. I don't automatically assume, like, okay, every single thing here is wrong. I fact check literally everything. Even if it makes me upset, even if something I'm hearing, I'm like, okay, maybe that's not accurate. And I'll go and look into it. Usually it is accurate, what I end up feeling like what it was. It usually ends up being correct. But at least then I know why I believe what I believe. Again, encourage you to ask yourself why you believe what you believe, If you, again, like we talked about the GMO, like, if before I told you all that information, it's like, if somebody would be like, why don't you like GMOs? It's like, well, yeah, why don't I like GMOs? Like, I just don't want my food to be modified. It's like, did you know, like, all your food's modified and it's actually fine and not bad? Like, just because it's not natural doesn't mean it's not bad, but there is a lot of unnatural stuff that is bad also. And it's like, oh, wait, okay. I didn't think about it that way, I don't know, there's certain stuff that, like, they get us on other ends. Like, the capitalism still is winning. Like, it's still, they're getting us on other ends of, like, they put, keto is on fucking everything now. Keto has no fucking scientific backing.
Yeah.
In fact, the scientific stuff that is around keto is, like, don't fucking do it. That's fucking dumb. But you can literally find a bar that says keto friendly. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, why is that on here? If you're gonna do the keto diet, that's fine. Again, I'm not telling people not to. Well, I am going to tell people not to do it. As a health sciences major, I'm going to tell you not to do it.
Yeah.
But if you are going to do it, are you not capable of checking the label yourself to see if it's keto? Why are we putting that on there? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's to appeal to diet culture. It's to appeal to diet culture because that's a buzzword right now, and that's going to get people buying it. That's going to be, oh, I'm keto, I can eat this.
It's so weird.
Like, it's, so I'm like, just because it says keto doesn't... Also, you don't know how many people I've talked to that... Perfect example. I was eating Oreos. I don't know who it was somebody in Michigan, I think. I was like eating Oreos, and they were like, wait, you can eat Oreos? They're not vegan. And I was like, they are. And they were like, wait, the cream. And I was like, that's what I meant when I talked to you earlier. And I was like, I didn't realize how much people didn't know what they were eating until I went vegan. Because people look at me and be like, wait, you can eat that? And I'm like, this isn't cream, babe. This is oil and sugar.
Yeah.
Did you know, cream, actually? Yeah. Like, it's... That doesn't mean you need to run away from an Oreo. That doesn't mean if you love Oreos, you can't have them sometimes. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, like, you need to have a freak out about it. But you need to know what you're eating. Like, this isn't... It's oil and sugar. But you know what icing is? Oil and sugar. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's frosting, essentially. It's not cream. Yeah. So, and then people are like, wait... I've had literally somebody say to me, like, oh, well, if Oreos are vegan, they must be healthy. And I'm like...
crazy, actually.
Hey, vegan doesn't equal healthy.
It
doesn't,
crazy.
Though. But that just goes to show you, and again, it's, like, not... I don't want to sit here and, like, make fun of people, because, I mean, in my heart, like, I'm like, LOL, like, that's dumb. But also, like, I know, as somebody who is passionate about food and is passionate about health and people, like, having their right to their own health... It just shows it's actually not funny. Like, it's a lack of understanding.
Yeah.
It's a lack of understanding of, like, okay, it's an association. You associate veganism with, like, whole foods and, like, being healthy. But that doesn't mean everything I eat is healthy. And I'll tell you right now, everything I eat is not healthy. Because I mean, most of the things I eat are healthy. But I have a healthy balance of, like, what I'm eating, and, like, what I enjoy and what I just kind of, like, indulge in, right? Because, like... I feel like that's a healthy way to live. You can't just, like, tell yourself you can't eat anything ever that's not healthy, quote unquote. Because, like, the measure of health is also like, kind of what? There's a salad and there's a brownie. Like, both have nutrients in them. One is just more nutrient rich. But if you want a brownie, like, eat a brownie. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's a lot of health literacy that, like, is fucked up. And I'm super anti-diet culture also, so I'm
just
like,
an oxymoron.
It's crazy. But, yeah, that is...
I just do encourage people to be more conscious.
Yeah, be more conscious. And when I say that, I don't mean, like, be lazy and look at a label that says keto and just be like, this is healthy. Or look at a label that says vegan and be like, this is healthy. Look at the ingredients. If you don't know what it means, look it up. If you don't know how to read an ingredient label, look that up. There's information online, and if you don't know how to do this
if you're still not getting it, maybe don't eat it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But also, if you don't understand any of this stuff, you don't need to feel bad. Most of America does not understand this stuff.
Yeah.
It is just about, like, educating yourself in time. Yeah. Like, I don't know everything, and it's been 8 years of me being obsessed with this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't tell you what certain ingredients are, but I know what I try to avoid. And this is with everything. This is with your products, like, everything. Because you'd be surprised the shit that they're sneaking in just because they can, just because it's filler, just because, like, why? I always say this, like, why are the lime flavored Lay's? Why do the lime flavored Lay's have milk powder in them?
Like, where?
For what?
Yeah.
Like, where in a lime is there milk? Like, I just don't
crazy.
understand. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like,
it's not mathing.
It's not. And it's like, also experiment with making your own food. I really, if you have any time, if you like, and start with what you like from other places. The food that you like out, I was telling Kai earlier, like, if your favorite thing is, like, a Big Mac, like, make one at home. And then make it better. Yeah. Because you can.
And then it won't be processed. Yeah. And then you'll know exactly what's going on.
And I do that all the time, mostly because I have to. Because I'm vegan. That's why I'm like, it kind of forced me into, as somebody who already liked to cook, like, that's why I was like, it was really easy for me, but I already liked to cook and kind of knew my way around the kitchen, so it made it really easy. But, like, for example, when I went to Michigan and my friends got chicken piccata at Cheesecake Factory, and I was like, that looks fucking delicious. I'm gonna make a vegan version. And I went home and I made it, and I perfected the recipe, and it was so fucking delicious. And I was like, wow, I can have anything I want. You can do the same thing, but just not, like, they could do the same thing.
And you probably made it for cheaper, and you probably made
more
it for
cheaper.
Of it.
I had it for, like, a week.
Extra, yeah.
And I got to put exactly what I wanted in it. Because there's a couple ways you can make chicken piccata. So I just looked up, like, recipes on TikTok, non-vegan ones and vegan ones. That, too, I, like, really harness, like, non-vegan recipes and, like, just veganize them all the time. I do it. I'll be like, okay, well, I can just switch this out for that and switch that out for this. And some people hate on the vegan stuff too, because then they're like, well, there's additives in the milk. Like, I see people online, like, with the, like, oh, I'm making my own almond milk because the almond milk in the store has additives. Now, there's some almond milk that's, like, cheaper, that has more, like, kind of filler and gums and whatever. But I want certain additives in my plant milk because it fortifies it. It's the same thing that they do with cereal. Like, General Mills or whatever, they put, like, vitamins in the cereal so that when kids are eating it, they're getting these vitamins, right? So it's the same with, like, plant milk. If you just take almonds and water and make your own almond milk at home, that's fine for, like, coffee and stuff. I mean, unless you're, like, getting your if you have a multivitamin, you're getting your vitamins elsewhere, then that's fine. But, like, I kind of like it because it's an easy way to get some vitamins in. Like, the oat milk at Trader Joe's has, like, B12 in it, which is, like, kind of hard to get sometimes. Like, I take a prenatal vitamin as somebody who does not want kids because I just want to get as many vitamins, like, you know, and I don't even take that every day, but I take it when I can, or in times where I feel like I'm not eating, I don't have time to eat, like, the way I want to.
Yeah.
And it was also a vitamin that I did research on before I bought it. It was a vitamin that I found, actually, just to show you guys, like, a thought process. I didn't want to just buy any vitamins, so I found this person that I watch, and they have kids, and they were like, this is the prenatal vitamin I use, and I know it works because I was getting my blood tested while I was pregnant, and all my levels were good after I was taking this vitamin. And so, obviously, anybody can say anything, and I guess that could be a lie, but there's really low reason to lie about something like that on a video that's on a channel that's already not big, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, well, I'll get this one if you're blood. And that too, you could always just get a blood test. If you have health care, you could always get a blood test and see if your shit is working, you know?
There's this new thing I was kind of seeing online where you can get your blood tested. You pay, like, X amount of money for, like, the year. You pay it, like, once. And then you get your blood tested. You, like, send a blood sample into these labs of this company.
It's, like, online?
Well, no, like, the website's online, but you go to, like, wherever, like, one of the places is, like, nearby. I gotta read more about it, but they basically, you send your blood in and they'll test you for, like, everything, to make sure you're good everywhere, instead of, like, when you go to the doctors, like, they just kind of test you on your blood, on, like, symptoms you're saying, you know what I mean?
I think you can also just get a blood test at certain, like, clinics and stuff like that, or maybe even your... it might cost, like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, this one
I was gonna say,
like,
I don't know the cost compared to what it would.
Cost like $5.
But I would look into it because I think even I found out at my college, like, we could get a blood test at our clinic and, like, see if we were deficient in anything. Like, it was actually really cool, and I never got to utilize it, but I heard that we could. And I actually don't know how accurate it was, but I heard that we could. Somebody said you can get your blood tested.
But then this one also goes into depth where it will tell you what you might be at risk for down the line if you, like, continue certain, like, patterns of, like, eating or not eating certain foods or vitamins or whatever, and it will tell you, like, genetically what you might be at risk for. So, and then they'll, like, they say that they'll help you try to find, like, a path to, like, steer away from, like, being on that track of, like, hey, X amount of years from now, like, you're at this amount of risk, like, and it will show you, like, a little scale, like, how much risk you're at, or, like, how much risk you're not at.
It's nice to know what's going on in your body, and if you have the opportunity to, I implore you to literally use that, like, to your advantage.
It makes me, like, want to cry, like, I'm sitting there so uncomfortable with it just in me,
but
and I
it's
feel like
worth it. No, you know, at the end of the day, for your health,
it takes a few minutes,
and you have that information. You know, that's how I felt about, like, all the money I'm spending to get, like, my dental work done and stuff. I'm like, if I waited, I would have had to get all that shit removed, like.
And it would cost more.
And it would cost even more. So I'm like, what am I going to cry over, like, this? And I'm grateful for the fact that I even have the money to do it in the first place. Like, you know, I'm really starting to, you know, take pride. You know, I think a lot of us talk about taking pride in health, and we don't think about all the different sectors in which we can do that, right? Like, we can really use, even though the healthcare system is big with, like, there's big pharma and stuff like that. There's ways around. It's not like you walk into a hospital and you're immediately pumped with drugs, okay? Like, they might encourage you to, but again, we do live in a free country. You can choose not to take a prescription. You know, like somebody was talking about, they got their wisdom teeth taken out and they were prescribed an opioid and they decided not to take it. Like, you don't have to use that stuff.
Yeah.
You can look up better alternatives. Like, they just took Motrin instead, just ibuprofen, and just took like a strong ibuprofen, a strong dose of ibuprofen instead of an opioid, because like, we have all that stuff is there, and yes, it's true, and I'm a avid believer in like the issues that are around big pharma, and I think some of them are intentional, and I think other of them are just like kind of using too much of a good thing. Medicine is so important. It's so great that we even have it now, because we didn't. People were literally dying at the age of 30, like, before. And I think it's great that we can, like, combat all of these things, but we use it too much. We use it too much, and
it's too accessible.
If you need it, I don't think it is too accessible.
No, to the point, though, where, like, if you're in any sort of slight pain, they're like, where's the medicine?
Yeah, and
like,
I think,
it's like
but
that.
I think it's because because we found these easy fixes, we don't think about the root of the problem, which is, you know, we're so good at knowing disease. We need to be so good at knowing, like,
roots of
the health. Like, we need to be health. Like, why aren't there not more playgrounds? Like, we're talking about the issues of obesity, and then we're looking at Red 40, when really we just need to, like, we need to have playgrounds. We need to teach kids, like, whatever, because at the end of the day, even if Red 40 is bad for you, and like the amount of it that's in things is not like, you know, we've been consuming it for so long, it is not like actively killing people. You know, what's actively killing people is a lack of access to food, it's lack of access to knowledge, it's lack of access to exercise. It's like, that's what's actively killing people. And if in that time we realize that, like, yeah, Red 40 is not great, we should obviously not be consuming it. But it is just so, like, such on the edge of the issue. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I disagree that it's an issue, but I just disagree that it's a big enough issue to be doing backflips over somebody who's like, and I'm going to get rid of that, you know? So that's just my take on the RFK thing. Like, it's good, I guess, but it's not amazing. It's not amazing.
I just recently watched this video. They were testing on rats. I don't know when this was, but the video just basically, like, put this rat that was healthy, eating its, like, own diet that it's supposed to eat or whatever, and they put it in this, like, I don't know if it was milk, but it looks like some milky water substance, and it, like, they put it in, and it swam around, and it found its way directly out, like, to the finish, like, where it was supposed to go or whatever. And then I guess they injected the rat with our diet or whatever, like, somehow, or, like, I don't know, maybe hormones, additives. I'm not sure what you put into a rat. I don't know how people test on animals, but they put it in the same, like, substance, and it literally just sat there, like, so confused, like, brain fogged, like, had no idea where to go, basically, and couldn't ever find its way. The point of their experiment, I guess they were saying, was that, what was it? What's your brain where you, like, Alzheimer's, or...
Oh, yeah.
Is there another one?
Dementia.
Yeah. I forget what one they were saying, but they were saying, like, it was diabetes of the brain or something, and that how there's just, like, certain things of our foods or diets that, like, can lead to that, making it, like, diabetes of the brain, and then, I don't know, it was just so weird to see.
Yeah, it's definitely, some of those, like, experiments have, like, validity. I think a lot of them end up being, like, correlational and not causational, but it can be confusing to, like, know the difference. Because I forget what, but I remember in one of my classes we were reading about, like, something that got tested on rats, like, kind of similarly, but it was, like, something different. And we were all reading it, and then my professor was like, well, why is this, like, or, like, you know, I forget what he asked, but he asked something of, like, is this, like, a valid study? And then somebody was, like, explaining, like, why it wasn't valid, because it wouldn't, like, translate. But I think these are good stepping stones of, like, what, you know. like how things could end up like translating out. Like I mean,
stepping stones of awareness.
Yes, long
term,
obviously these things are not good for us. But yeah, I just think that we need to again know why and not just be like, okay, like yeah.
Aren't we also stepping into the age of Aquarius?
Yeah.
Which
like
is
how
the
many
age
of us,
of awareness.
Yeah,
and,
like how many of us know what Red 40 is? Right? Like what is it?
Well, I just think it's some artificial dye that was created.
Yeah, but what is it made out of? You know what I mean? Like I couldn't. Like I think
I just know what it causes. I don't know what it.
There's one red dye that is made from like beetles, like shells. Look it up
right now.
That's what I'm saying. Like
ew, beetle shells.
Yeah.
This is so weird.
Yeah.
What is...
Like, a lot of us are so scared of these things that we don't even know what they are, you know? Where it's like, just because when you find out, it might still be harmful, but it might not be as crazy as you think it is.
It's crazy because it's actually not telling me. It's just saying that it's a dye that's additive in food. What is Red 40 made of? Mm-hmm. It's literally also just still not telling me. It's a synthetic
AI over you.
Food dye made from petroleum's crazy. Isn't that Vaseline?
Petroleum.
I mean, it's derived from oil.
That's part of what Vaseline's made from, but source derived from petroleum, FDA, chemical is primarily composed of a chemical red, which is a
petroleum
acid. That's what I'm saying. You have to look into it because a lot of it. Also, the thing of nephthylene sulfonic acid. Yeah, which a lot of like the things. Also, that movement of which is good because it was a stepping stone and got people looking at the like ingredients of stuff. But the whole movement of like if you can't pronounce it, you shouldn't eat it, which I don't think is good because there's a lot of things that people can't pronounce that is totally fine to eat. Like somebody had made a video, I think it was a nutritionist had made a video where she looked at a label that looked so scary because it looked like it was just a bunch of chemicals, but she literally explains to you what each chemical is and how it's not even a chemical. Like I forget which one was like, she's like, this is literally just like it might have not even been food, it might have been like a hair product where she's like, I forget what it was, but she was explaining these things that they look crazy, right? Because it's also with hair products, people are just like, if you can't read it, you probably shouldn't be. You know, we are made of chemicals. We eat chemicals. Like, everything is made out of chemical compounds. There's just certain chemicals we obviously want to stay away from. So I just think, definitely, just because you can't pronounce it, I would look it up. Because sometimes you can't pronounce it, and you look it up, and you're like, oh, this is fine. And then sometimes you can't pronounce it, you look it up, and you're like, oh, I don't want that, at all. You know, So, yeah, I think the big takeaway from this podcast is, like, do your own research. And don't just look at one article. Don't just look at the AI overview. Click a couple links. And if you don't want to do that, then that's fine. Just don't talk about it. But, yeah.
The moral of it. Oh, my God. I don't even know if we're going to have time in this episode for the social media one because it's almost at an hour already.
We literally don't.
We always do this, guys.
I know. I was like,
we're always
split
like
it in half, and then it's just like we could talk forever about.
We're always like we have two topics to talk about in this podcast, but
well, you guys are just gonna have to go to the other one.
Yeah, you'll have to go to the part 2 one.
But do you have anything that you want to add or wrap out?
Moral of the story is just start educating yourself. I guess start wanting to learn what you're putting into your body. Start questioning, doing research,
and ask yourself if you're afraid of something or even think that one thing is healthy. Like, ask yourself what it means. Like, ask yourself if you know what organic means. You know, I saw somebody had posted, they were like, all these people are so afraid of like stuff that's not natural, and they're the same people in the grocery store that won't buy a pepper unless it's completely perfect. You know what I mean? If it or a apple unless it's completely perfect, no bruises, no ugly, whatever. All these waxes and the shit that they're putting on the food like make it pretty, and you guys don't want to buy it unless it's perfect. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, there's a whole thing actually called Misfits Market, and they take like the ugly produce that stores don't want and they sell it to people
Misfits
for like
Market. That's
yeah.
so
I'm actually
funny.
gonna see if I can.
That's actually so funny. Aww.
It's so cool. Like they'll take bell peppers that are like misshapen, but they're totally fine to eat. And the thing is, if you put those in the store, like consumers don't want that.
Yeah.
They don't want it.
Aww.
They want organic produce that is somehow also very perfect looking. Like it's just not, you know, like we don't know the reality of what we're asking for, I think a lot of the time. So that's why I'm like, look up stuff. Literally figure it out, because that's what I have to say about it. Hope you guys like this background music.
Kristen's background music.
Yeah, these are so funny. Yeah, they sell so many things on here, and they even have meats on here. This is the plant that I was looking for. I don't know the name of it, but this plant and another plant made broccoli. Like this,
Aww.
like doesn't it look so weird?
Yeah, it does.
It's like broccoli's parent. Yeah, so they sell leftover and end pieces of like meat that isn't typically sold. Any fruit or vegetable that has like discoloration. They said, we know that variation in color is totally normal and has no impact on the taste. Sometimes farmers and producers need a little extra help selling through their items, so they'll support like small farmers. Supermarkets won't often accept outdated branding on packaging, but that's where we come in. So if like your favorite brand relabeled but still has some other stuff out there, you can get it for like,
it's kind of like the TJ Maxx of
no, actually
it's
so cool though. The near or Best By date, yeah, do groceries won't sell those. And I know that like some people in LA, there's this place called Grocery Outlet that has like discount groceries because it's like close to the sell by date or whatever, which again, like I know a lot of people that literally won't, they take that date for like if it's 1 day past. I'm like, no, it's a suggestion.
Yeah,
like
if you have a couple day leeway,
if your milk, yeah, you have a couple day leeway, and if you have milk that is expired like 2 days past but you smell it and it doesn't smell like anything, you're okay. Like you're not gonna, like you can use it still. That might need to be like the last time you use it, but you can use it. Like these things aren't so cut and dry like we think they are. Like it's not like puzzle pieces, you know. They offer them at a discount if it's near or Best By the date, or too big or too small produce. That's so fun.
11%.
I said when I move out, I want to like start buying from Misfits Market.
You just order online.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Because right now it's not super like practical for me to do that, like order off of here, but I was like, I think once I have a little bit more space in my own space, I'm definitely gonna like order off here. Like it's pretty nice, and you get a box. Like I saw some people like who do it, and they like get a box like monthly.
Or
no, it's just like they'll send you a little bit like, what do you want, and then you get all these like weirdo fruits that nobody else wanted, and you get them at a discount, but they're totally fine and they taste fine, like, you know.
I like that. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's it.
Well, that's how we're going to close out the pod. Just tune into the next one about the social media.
We'll talk about
what
that.
What are we saying? It's social media.
Oh, God. Just tune in, because we need to remember where we left off in the witch shop, because I don't remember.
All right. Well, catch you guys on the next up.
Peace and love.